Hello, 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 as Darren Locke says on his VC channel, everybody out there. It's time for another Ringo Starr album review, except this time it's a CD, not an album, because it never came out on vinyl, but we'll get to that. So, yeah, we are up to Vertical Man, which, like I said, only came out on CD. I think the next, well, the Christmas album was only out on CD, but it finally came out on vinyl for Record Store Day a couple of years ago. But this and the next three, I believe, after the Christmas album, I could be wrong, only ever came out on CD and never came out on vinyl. So they need to get on that because they've been re-releasing Ringo albums of late on colored vinyl. I know they did Bad Boy a couple of years ago. They just did Rotogravure, green and red vinyl, I believe, and everybody's still trying to figure out which one is the more rare of the two. I'm not sure, but that's great and that's wonderful. But those have already been out on vinyl, so we need a record store day or a special release of this and the other three Ringos on vinyl. But so this is on CD, and I'll show you. Here's what does it say down here? Life is life. This was just a record. Ringo says, words of wisdom. Maybe so, but oh, what a record. So there's a picture of Ringo in his typical peace and love sort of Ringo persona. There's the main cover, which is pretty cool. Looking through here, you get there's a looks like a younger Ringo picture. You've got a girl playing a sitar. You got a what's that, Vargas, like the cover of the Cars album, the girl lounging back and showing off her you know what's. You got a space alien, you got pumpkins, so you got a lot of cool stuff going on here. You got moons and suns and flying cows and whatnot, honeybees. Kind of neat looking at that. Then this folds out and you get the lyrics and who plays what on what and all the thank yous and credits, and there's kind of an Abbey Road era Ringo walking around, and then there's the CD case that's got a lot more pictures of aliens and moons and stars and Ringos and pumpkins and whatnots. And then you've got Ringo doing the Abbey Road walk against a backdrop of sort of a Starry Night Van Gogh painting, I guess, there. So that's cool. We got a pretty good cover, pretty interesting packaging. So this album came out June 16th, 1988 in America. Came out in August in England. So Ringo had big hopes for this album because this was his album that followed up the whole Beatles anthology hubbub and craze and success from 1995. Of course, he waited 3 years to put it out, which might have been detrimental to it. But he did a ton of promotion and interviews and TV appearances and videos and whatnot. Sadly, unfortunately, didn't help out. It only got to number 61 in America, number 85 in the UK. It's a shame that the radio didn't play it and all, but maybe if he had released it in 95 or 96, would have done a little bit better. Unfortunately, probably not, because by this time the radio wasn't really playing Ringo other than oldie stations playing It Don't Come Easy and Photograph, which is a shame. All sorts of, you got Paul and George on this album. You've got Joe Walsh, Steve Tyler from Aerosmith, Ozzy Osbourne, Brian Wilson, and pretty much everything. I think there was one lady showed up to collect rent on the studio, and someone asked her if she played an instrument, and she did. She played oboe or trumpet or triangle or I don't know what, and they said, well, come on, woman, get in here and start playing. So it's just sort of anyone who stopped by got put on the album, sort of big fun party thing, which could have been just a big old mess of self-indulgence. But this is one of those rare times when Ringo was really trying, really focused, really paying attention, and not just sort of time to do another album, sleepwalking through it like he's done in the past. So, and if not commercially, artistically it pays off in droves here. So of course, also with the anthology, Paul, uh, he released it a year before this album, but he had Flaming Pie, which was a big critical and commercial hit for him. Um, Unfortunately, it didn't help Ringo, and that's a damn shame because this is a really good album, and this is what happens when Ringo kind of drops the goofiness factor and gets focused and tries and to do a really good album, and that's exactly what he's done here. So we've gone over the cover and all that. Let's see what I got in my notes here. Let's get with the songs. So the first song is One, not the old Three Dog Night song, but One is written by Ringo and Mark Hudson and some other guys. There's most of the songs on here are written by Ringo. There's a few covers, but so Ringo, Mark Hudson, someone named Grackle. This is a type of bird, isn't it? And then someone named Dudus, something like that. I don't know. And then there's some others that are written by Ringo and some other people. But anyway, Ringo's written by One. This is a great opener. It's very poppy, very Beatlesque, which makes sense because he had just gone through the anthology experience, him and Paul and George. Really good vocals by Ringo. Good drumming. Ringo does, he plays drums on every song on here, which on a lot of his albums, I'm not sure that he plays all that much. So that's good to see. And it's solid, good drumming. He used the drum kit that he used in the Beatles for this particular song. So just an upbeat song. It's a poppy song. It's kind of the power of the love of a good girl or a good woman and what difference that can make in your life, which is a lot. It's just as catchy as can be. Great opener. Comes out of the gate strong and sounds very Beatlesque, like I already said. But I'm going to give One a 9. Then we go to another song called What in the World. It's written by Ringo too. Paul is on here playing bass, I believe, and some backup vocals. Ringo wrote it with those other guys again. Very Beatlesque. Very sounds like Badfinger in parts. Sounds like Big Star. Just a very power pop song here. Pretty good vocals, but good drumming. Nice backing vocals. And this is sort of what in the world would his life be like if he didn't have Barbara, which wouldn't be good. Another strong song, very good, keeping with the Beatlesque sound here. And I'm going to give What in the World a 9 as well. We go to the third song, also written by Ringo and Hudson all those other people. Let me move that thing. It's sweltering hot here in Texas, and so we've got the AC and the fan going, and just be glad when we get to October and fall and get some cooler weather. We still got a month and a half of this misery to go. But I digress. Minefield, number 3, Ringo and Hudson. This reminds me of the Billy Joel song, We Didn't Start the Fire, Vietnam, GFK, what else have I got to say, which is a pretty dumb song. And this is sort of a dumb song too, but it's a dumb song in a good way. It's a little generic at first blush, but it grows on you. It's got a nice little Indian music interlude in there that's very nice in the middle of the song. It's a little too short. I wouldn't have minded if that would have gone on a little longer. It's also got a line in there about walking on thin ice. I don't know if that's a nod to Yoko or not. Probably so. This is better than the Billy Joel song in my opinion. There's some Billy Joel songs I like, but that's not one of them. A little bit silly, but catchy, good song. I'm going to give Minefield, with its explosion at the end of the song, a 7. Now we go to the fourth song, and things pick up quite a bit. This is called King of Broken Hearts, written by Ringo and that bunch. George appears on slide guitar, does a really good job. Mellotron in the song gives the song sort of an I'm the Walrus type feel to it. It's a mid-tempo ballad, little slow and plodding at the very first of the song, but it picks up pretty quick. And let's see, I did mention that Ringo wrote that, I believe. Ringo sings a very good voice on this song. It fits the song. His voice is suitably wary because it fits the message and the lyrics and the tone of the song. Slightly countryish in parts, kind of in the way that some of the Beatles songs were slightly countryish. Happy Just to Dance with You, things like that. Great vocals from Ringo. I love the part where he sings the line, I want her back and nothing more, and he does a little pause in his vocal at about 2:01 in the song. Very just a nice little vocal affectation, intonation that really adds to the song. And the part at I think it's about 2:40 into the song, the all a heart's no good when it's been broken is a very Beatlesque breakdown there. This is great. King of Broken Hearts, and you can argue that, you know, Ringo's been married to Barbara very happily for 40 years. He's one of the most famous people in the world. He's a multimillionaire. He's had all sorts of women chasing him in his life, so he's probably not the king of broken hearts, but he's just playing a role. In case you didn't know, he probably doesn't live in a yellow submarine either, for real. But so he's just playing a role. But it's a great song. I'm giving King of Broken Hearts a 10. It's just a solid. This song, in my opinion, is every bit as good as It Don't Come Easy or Photograph, and those are great songs. And this is a great song too. And this is one of his best. And it's a shame that this wasn't a single that went up the charts, because it should have. And it's just, I don't know what he plays in concert. I haven't seen him since 1989. I don't think he plays stuff from these newer albums, but this would be a great song for him to play in concert. And it's just a shame. This should have been, like Photograph, like It Don't Come Easy, one of his standards that everyone knows, and it's not. It should be. It gets a 10. Now we take a big dip. Fifth song on the album, Love Me Do, which you might have heard another band that he used to be in did. Why does he do this song? I don't know. Maybe he's still pissed off that George Martin called Andy White in to do the drumming on the song, the session drummer that played on one version of the song and Ringo played on another. And maybe that still is a burr in his saddle or something, and he wanted to finally say, see, I can play this song. I will give that it's very exuberant, very energetic, that he's getting into it. His vocal's a little ham-fisted on it. His drumming's pretty good. He's having fun, but it's just pointless. I mean, there's no reason. I can see him and the people that are making this album warming up in the studio and running through some old Beatles songs and just having fun. It shouldn't have been released. It's not god awful terrible, I guess, but it's just pointless. He doesn't do anything new to the song, and I can't for the life of me imagine anybody out there that if they had to choose between the Ringo version or the Beatles version, picking the Ringo version of Love Me Do. So he is having fun. I'll give it a 3. That's as high as I can go on that, and this probably really should be a 1 or something. This album has 13 songs, which is not unusual for an album to have 13 songs, but there's quite a few songs on here that are in the 5-6 minute range, which is a good thing, it turns out. But so it's a pretty long album, and I think, is it Ringo 2012 or something, that the whole album's only like 22-25 minutes. So they could very easily have just, you know, had fun doing this in the studio, messing around, but chopped it off the album and not released it, because it's there's just no point in it. That gets a 3. But things get better all of a sudden. Number 6 is the title track, Vertical Man, which was written by Ringo and Hudson and that bunch. Very Beatley, sort of Magical Mystery Tour era sounding Beatles. Great background vocals. Music, the music is great, the drumming is great, the guitar is great. At the end where he's going out, 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 I'm thinking maybe that's the OUT spells out reference from the Beatles Christmas record. Probably not, I don't know. Anyway, Vertical Man is a great song, another great song. It gets a 10. I really love that song. Now we come to a song that has me a little conflicted because it's a cover. A song called Drift Away. I'm sure you all heard it. know what it is. Dobie Gray took it to number 5 back in 1973, and it's been on the radio. It's been a radio staple ever since. It's a good song. It's a really good song, and I love soul music, and this is, so I'm not going to say it's not a bad song, but it's never did it for me. And it's one of those very, very rare examples of a soul song that I just flat out don't really care for. And Lean on Me would be another one. Maybe that surprised you or not, I don't know. Which is also a good song, but I just never really did it for me. Drift Away, the original, I don't hate it, but I really don't like it. It's just never really cared too much about it. But why I'm conflicted is because Ringo's like he was born to sing this song. The vocal was one of his best, or up there among his best. He just lives in the song vocally, knocks it out of the park. The music is really good, I gotta say. So even though it's a song that I don't like, I'm gonna give it a 6. It's a song you like, and apparently, it was a huge hit. It's all over the radio, so apparently a lot of people like it, and I'm not saying they're wrong, I'm right, or anything like that. It's just personal preference. But if you like the song, you're probably going to like this, and I would argue that Ringo's version is as good or better than Dobie Gray's original version. Gray wasn't the original. Some other guy, I can't remember his name, actually did the song in 1972. Gray did it in 73. He's the one who had the hit with it, if you care. And someone totally different wrote the song. But anyway, but here's the thing. Ringo's singing. He's doing a great job delivering a really good vocal. And then all of a sudden, here comes old boring dishwater Tom Petty in there to sing a couple of verses of it, which in fairness, he's not that distracting. I guess he does okay for Tom Petty, but I was just listening to that thinking, man, what a missed opportunity that he got the non-essential member of the Wilburys. Why didn't he get Dylan? Why didn't he get George? Why didn't you get Johnny Cash? He was still around. Neil Young would have been great. Springsteen, Elvis Costello, Joe Strummer, I don't know, Paul Weller. Pretty much anyone would have been better than Petty. But still, Petty kind of tries to sound like, I don't know, he's trying to sound like Dylan or Neil Young there, and he does okay with his boring self. But, I don't know. Anyway, and then it gets worse, because then here comes this screeching 90s harpy that Alanis Morissette, gate crashing in there, very unwelcome. They're just terrible, and that kind of derails the whole song for a couple of verses at least. And again, missed opportunity. Tina Turner, Aretha Franklin, Chrissie Hynde, Debbie Harry, Nina Simone was still alive. Linda Ronstadt was still around. She's still around? I don't want to jinx that, but she could still sing in those days. She, has the Parkinson or whatever and can't sing now. But whole host of possibilities for those two deadweight singers. But Ringo has a lot of fun with this song, and his vocal knocks out of the park. It's better than the original. I still don't care for the song that much. That's why I'm giving it a 6. If it was a song I liked, I'd probably give it like an 8 or something. So if you like Drift Away, check Ringo's version out, and you might just like it quite a bit. Anyway, let's move on. Song number 8 was I Was Walking. Nice drums, kind of written by Ringo and Hudson and etc. Little bit generic at first, but a cut above generic, enough to kind of keep your interest. It's sort of just your chugging boogaloo rock and roll. Paul's on background vocals. He got good vocals from Ringo. At first, when I got the CD, because I didn't have this record, I got the CD a month and a half or so ago, and I've been playing it in my car going to and from work so I could get a good feel for it, and didn't want to just play it once or twice and do a review. So I've been playing it for quite a while now. At first, it was one of those songs that when it came up, it was okay, and I let it play through. It wasn't too bad, but it didn't really thrill me. But it's kind of grown on me over time, and I still one of the kind of a filler song, but a pretty good filler song that grows on you, I guess. And I may like it more as time goes by, but right now I'm going to give it a 6 for I Was Walking. And now we get to number 9. It's called La Di Da, which is written by Ringo and the Bunch. And you know, at first I was thinking, oh, here we go. This is going to be Peace and Love Ringo and sort of the Ringo goofiness that you get on a lot of the past albums and stuff. And okay, yeah, it kind of is. And yeah, it's kind of a song that your parents would probably dig. But it's also catchy as hell, and it's a good song. And then he mentions Doris Day and Que Sera Sera, and it's sort of like the Que Sera Sera song in that it's very catchy, sticks in your head in a not in a bad way. It's a little bit silly, sure, but so what? But it's not off the track silly, and it kind of rocks, to be honest. And it's a good. It's got background vocals from Paul, Barbara, Lee Starkey, and then like 100 other people singing on it. And this is a song he should do in concert, because this would be a fun sing along with the audience, kind of like Yellow Submarine is, and so forth. And it's a catchy, fun, slightly silly and goofy, but it's a good song. I'm gonna give La Di Da a 9. Excuse me, a 9. Number 10 song is Without Understanding, written by Ringo, Hudson, and that other bunch. I love this song. This is just Danger Girl action music, just real James Bond theme type stuff. It's funny because there's a mention lyrics, Good Vibrations is mentioned in the lyrics, which Brian Wilson is on the backing vocals of this song, so it makes me think, I wonder if that was intentional. Probably is. There's an opera singer lady that shows up. There's a kind of a gospel singing group on here. There's Indian music in the song, and then toward the end there's a great guitar riff. Just love the vocals, love the backing vocals, love the guitar, love the opera bit, love the Indian bit. Ringo plays guitar on this, not the lead guitar. He plays, but throughout this album, he plays drums on every track. It's, I think, one track, and I forget which one. Steven Tyler plays drums, but he plays mellotron. I think he plays keyboards here and there, and he plays guitar on 1 or 2 tracks. Probably in the background, but you know. But yeah, just a driving rock and roll thriller of a song. And for Without Understanding, I'm gonna forget 10. I'm giving that song an 11. So there you go. Let's see how mean Mr. Mayo will figure that one out. All right. So where do we go next? We go to song number 11. I'll Be Fine Anywhere. You always got to have a country song on a Ringo album, and fittingly so, we've got one here. This is just a great honky-tonk country Jerry Lee Lewis sounding rockabilly thing. It's got some cool bop backing vocals. Singers sound like the Jordanaires that Dancing Bear used to use. Kind of like reminds you of Teddy Bear back when Elvis was, before he went in the army and got his balls cut off and became tame and lame, back when he was good back in the 50s. And George is back on slide guitar and on guitar too. Just does a great, knocks it out of the park. And did I mention how wonderful Ringo handles the vocals here? And it's really cool. Toward the end, he does a little Jerry Lee Lewis impersonation and bye 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 bye. And great country song. This is another one he ought to be singing in concert. This is another one that should have been a hit. This song is a 10. I'll Be Fine Anywhere. Great song, great song. Song number 12 is Puppets, written by Ringo and Hudson, blah, blah, blah. Steve Cropper's on here. He's on several tracks. He was, of course, played in the Stax band, played a lot of Otis Redding records, and Marquez and Marquez. He was in the Blues Brothers. He's dead now, and I don't know if he died early 2000s or late 90s around this time, but it's good to have him on there. Got banjo on this song, which is good, really good organ, B3 organ. Got a nice sax part. The saxophone sometimes can be a good thing, sometimes it can be a bad thing when you got that saxophone that sounds like the Saturday Night Live band or the 80s beer commercials. It's not good, but sometimes it's really good, and here it is. A good soulful rock. Lyrics a little trite, but not so bad. This is a song that at first I didn't, just thought was filler, but another one that's very musically very cool, and it won me over time, and it grew on me. I don't know what he's going on about, put your puppet to bed and all that stuff. It's a little silly, like I said, but not overly so, or not embarrassingly so at least. 7.5 for Puppet. And we end the album with song number 13, which is I'm Yours, which was written by Ringo and Hudson, and not the Gracklebird guy, but some other guy. George Martin shows up. He does the orchestration, the strings on it. Starts off with just an acoustic guitar and Ringo singing in a... Obviously, this is sort of a tip of the hat to Good Night, the song at the end of the White Album, and sort of a copy version of that to some degree, but it's its own song enough that it stands on its own. Maybe this lacks a little bit of the Beatles' magic and stardust of Good Night, but not by much. It's not by much. This is really good. This should have been featured in, say, like an animated Disney cartoon movie. I don't know what other kind of cartoons you have than animated, or like a kid's movie, or just a movie in general. This would have been a great song for a movie, and another one that should have been a hit. There is a great line in there, all the dreams of everyone will meet up in the sky. I don't know, I like that. The orchestration is great when it comes in about mid-song. The last part, last couple of stanzas or choruses or whatever, where he sings to Barbara by name and starts singing about what she means to him, is just wow. This is just really affecting and really cool. So it ends the album on a high note. I'm going to give I'm Yours a 10. So the album was recorded over I think he started it in 96 and had some touring in between, and some of it was recorded in California, some of it in England, and some of it in who knows where else. So it finally came out in 98. There were more than 13 songs, quite a few more than 13 songs recorded. A lot of the extra songs showed up on special editions of the CD that were released in Best Buy and in Japan. There was even supposedly a 45 released, which was recalled, which I'm not sure what the story on that is, but there was a B-side on that was not on the album, and so forth and so on. So there's a lot of extra songs out there. Unfortunately, I don't have any of special editions, and I need to go on YouTube sometime and look those songs up and see if they're any good or not. Surely one of them is good enough that it could have replaced Love Me Do on this album. And so yeah, this is I would say maybe, probably my favorite Ringo album after Ringo. I think Time Takes Time, which he had had that big break in between that and this, and he had the big break. He did Old Wave in '83, and then he didn't come back until '92 with Time Takes Time, and then he had a big break until '98 with this. After that, he's released albums on a pretty regular basis, thankfully. But Time Takes Time was kind of his comeback album, and it's good, and it's got some really good stuff on it. Some of it's a little fillery. I think it's better than this. And I would go so far as to say that Paul, like I said, had the big hit with Flaming Pie, which was sort of a comeback of sorts for him too. And that's a highly touted album. I remember Rock Boy 680 was going through ranking the Paul McCartney albums a year or two ago and named Flaming Pie as his favorite McCartney album. But full disclosure, it's good, but it's just never really sent me over the moon the way it does quite a few people. apparently. I think Flaming Pie has one moment of brilliance, and then three or four good songs, and then some okay to just filler songs, to be honest. And the point I'm making, I'm not trying to run down Flaming Pie. I'm trying to say that if someone said you can listen to an album, but you have to pick between either Flaming Pie or Vertical Man, I think 9 times out of 10 I'm going to pick Vertical Man. And I think other than um, Beautiful Night on Flaming Pie, I think the highlights of Vertical Man are as good or better than the highlights of Flaming Pie, to be honest with you. And so that brings me to, a lot of times you say this is good for a Ringo album, because obviously Ringo's not in same leagues singing and songwriting as John, Paul, and George. But I think in this case you forget the line about for a Ringo album. You just say this is a cracker. This is a damn good album. And it's a shame that it only got to 62 and 82 in England. And yeah, I mean this might be as good as the Ringo album in my book. And if it's not, it's real close, damn close. And so I don't know what was number one in America and England when this was 62 in the US and 82 or whatever in England. I don't know what the top 10 albums were that week on both sides of the ocean there, but I bet you this album was better than any of those. It was in the 90s, so I can almost assure it was. Uh, yeah, 9.9 I'm going to give Vertical Man. And so we still have, I did a count, I think there's like 7 or 8 of these Ringo albums to go. I'll get through them. It may be 2022 or whatever. But yeah, it just goes to show that there is a lot of filler. There's a lot of embarrassing moments. There's some flat out crap, but there is quite a bit of gems and good stuff in the Ringo catalog, outside of the Ringo album, outside of It Don't Come Easy, and those songs that Back Off Boogaloo and all, which are great things. I'm not saying they're not, but I'm saying there is better, not better. There is stuff that is good or as good outside of when he did get some airplay and had some hits in the '70s. Uh, so you got to dig through a bunch of stuff to get through it, maybe. But there's some good prime tracks are worth it. I've talked enough. I'm going away. Hope it's not a million degrees where you are, but I think it is kind of like that all over the country right now, unfortunately. Hope you have a good weekend, and keep smiling, have fun, blah, blah, blah. See ya. Peace and love, peace and love.